So it's a day late because we had a Monday game, but we've got takeaways.
And I'm sorry to all of you guys who actually watched that game.
Yes.
Idiots.
Yes. We've got takeaways from the weekend, so we'll get to those right now. Cooper Mays, what should people do?
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
Yes, hit like and subscribe, and don't forget about that notifications button. We would greatly hit that ding, 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 the bell. What down, Coop?
Coop here. First down.
All right, let's start with the SEC. The SEC offenses, still the college football show. I think the average was 62-2 that Jimmy Himes tweeted out. And you think Georgia is the most complete team in college football. What was your take on the SEC for first down?
It was insane. I mean, 5 teams went over 60 points, 3 went over 70. And this is the defensive league. And it was just incredible. I told you guys ahead of the year that it would be the year of the quarterback in the SEC. And I'll say this. I've watched enough football to say this, Dave. You usually throw FCS games out the window. Very true. But if you can hit that 60 mark against FCS teams, yeah, you do usually have an elite offense at that point.
Yep,
and
agreed.
By the way, and there's no question about Georgia. Like, it's Georgia. They're as good as advertised. And they have one of the other elite quarterbacks who just wasn't able to do it because he played a top 25 school.
Yep, there. I want to talk about on second down, 3 big name teams. Here we go.
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
All right, thanks, Coop. Clemson, Miami, Notre Dame. I thought that Blake Topmeyer, who we've had on the program, was pretty spot on when he talked about Clemson in his column. I don't know if you saw that, but he said it's just official that Clemson is done. And you wrote that as well. Clemson will no longer reign over college football. You also asked the question, Miami, Notre Dame, back on the top of college football. Give me your take on those 3 teams, big name teams. And I'm going to admit right now, I was wrong on Marcus Freeman. I thought when he got hired, he was a player's coach at Notre Dame, and that would slowly go downhill. As it turns out, they're competitive. They won over the weekend. Kudos to them. Miami, I'm the one guy who liked Mario Cristobal, I think, in the world. And Clemson really affects Tennessee because they recruit a lot of the same players, Caleb.
I think Clemson's fall is directly tied to Tennessee's rise. I think those things are not mutually exclusive. That's a big part of this. And yeah, and I think part of it is that they're just stuck in the ACC and it's just getting harder and harder to recruit there. As far as Miami and Notre Dame, Dave, don't give up yet not believing in Marcus Freeman. Sometimes coaches can have very successful seasons and still be bad coaches. And I think that I watched that game on Saturday. Marcus Freeman would have been on my football IQ list that we're going to be doing later in the show had he lost that game because he made a lot of basic coaching mistakes. Mario Cristobal, I ask you this with Cam Ward at Miami, who came from Washington State. He led my Heisman race through September last year. I think Mario Cristobal could be like where Mike Norvell was last year with Jordan Travis or a Gene Chizik with Cam Newton. Like I still don't believe in him, but bad coaches can land a generational quarterback and go really, really, really far.
Yep.
In college football.
Let's take a look at the Florida schools for third down.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Florida, FSU just weren't very good. FSU and Florida, you say combined irrelevancy worst in decades.
For the first time since 1973, guys, Florida and Florida State both lost by 15 points on the same weekend. Guys, Florida State tickets this year, maybe at their cheapest since air conditioning led to the growth of the state, the population boom of the state in the 50s and 60s, okay? I think you can get really, really cheap tickets. Who wants to go watch that game? And I don't know which one's worse. I think Florida State was a total fluke last year with Jordan Travis. And Florida, we're going to talk about them later, but they're just a disaster of a program. And people are going to blame Billy Napier, rightfully so, but guys, that goes top down. That goes all the way to the top. They are a completely disastrous program in athletics altogether. And Dave was the one who told you that up front. And he's going to be proven right over the next 10 years.
Let's go to third down, Coop.
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. Third down.
Oh, no, that's third down.
Okay.
We're third down, I think. Colorado, I'm pretty sure. Colorado has two elite players and nobody else, you write. So let's stay west. And USC has a defense, we think. But I also think LSU in that USC game mismanaged that game and had a quarterback that could have done a lot more. I believe we discussed that yesterday for a moment.
Yeah, yes, exactly. So starting with Colorado, Shedeur Sanders may be the best prospect of quarterbacks. Travis Hunter, what if Tennessee once again loses out on the Heisman because another player was a two-way player? And
that would be terrible, but I don't think that Colorado is going to win enough games to get him that sort of notoriety.
Well, that also. Oh my gosh, I'm writing a column on this. This is already coming to me. We got to talk about this maybe another day. But Tennessee has had two second place Heisman finishers to two of the only type of Heisman winners possible. One, a two-way player, Charles Woodson. The other, a player who played on a losing team in Paul Hornung in Notre Dame, who went 1-9. Travis Hunter could fit the mold of both of those guys this year, and it could be at Tennessee's expense. So just watch out. Now, as far as USC having a defense, Iowa having an offense, I agree. I think a lot of it was about LSU, and they were trying to figure each other out. But USC holding LSU to 20 points or Iowa scoring 40 against Illinois State. Now, it was Illinois State, but Iowa scoring 40 anytime is shocking, isn't it?
It is. Let me ask you this, Caleb, with Shedeur Sanders and Nico, who do you think is the better quarterback?
Right now, I have to say Shedeur Sanders. Right now. I'm not saying Nico can't be, but guys, if y'all watch Shedeur Sanders, I mean, he's whatever you think of his father, whatever you think of him and going to Colorado, this dude's amazing as a quarterback. I mean, I honestly see, I thought about this. What about like the best quarterbacks that played on really bad teams in college? There's him. And I mean, he almost rivals John Elway in that, doesn't he? With Stanford.
That's a really weird good comparison because they didn't have a lot of protection either. So I would take Sanders right now. But I think we both would agree it's not even close. We would take Heupel and Nico as the combination coach as opposed to whoever the offensive coach is out there in Colorado, and or Dion with Shedeur. So I think that Shedeur Sanders might be a little bit better. I could see them potentially, if they were in the same draft, being the 1-2 guys easy. Now we got people saying Sanders is overrated. Guys, I know you don't like Dion, and I get that. And a lot of people didn't like Dion when he played, but Caleb, he always showed up. And Shedeur Sanders, he's done a lot of talking too, but to me, he always shows up and always plays well. I think he's light on his feet. I think he's a really good football player. I think they're actually a little bit similar. How similar are they?
In size or just in profile?
Just in profile. Play?
I actually think they are similar. They're both a little bit thin, wouldn't you say? And yeah, so I agree. I will say this: Shedeur Sanders could get wrecked before the NFL. This is where it's not a good John Elway comparison. John Elway was huge. Dude was massive. And so he could take those hits. I'm not sure if Shedeur can keep taking the hits.
You know, I haven't stood next to Shedeur, but I've stood next to Dion. He is remarkably bigger than you think he is. Does that surprise you?
A little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he is. I was like, is that Deion Sanders? Whoa, he was standing next to Cam Newton. And Cam Newton's huge, right? 6'5".
Yeah, Cam Newton is absolutely huge.
Yeah, he was in that ballpark. Cam Newton didn't dwarf him. I don't know what he was listed at throughout his career, but he was a pretty big dude. I was pretty surprised. The Hemp House, the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Some people are already using the promo code HOOKED for 10% off. Hooked for 10% off. You should do that because you get 10% off. How about that? All right. Are we at fourth down? Is that where we are?
Yep. Yep.
I'll let you see center Cooper Mays here. Fourth down.
All right, fourth down on takeaways from the weekend. I'm going to wedge in an extra down here. Penn State struggled as well.
No. Penn State's the only traditional Big Ten power to not struggle.
Right. Penn State did not struggle over the weekend. You said USC gets a pass. And then I want to get to the Heisman race, and I want to get to your top 10.
Yeah, so USC gets a pass because they played LSU. So them struggling is like, there's nothing wrong with struggling with LSU.
Sure.
But Michigan only beat Fresno State 30-10, and Ohio State beat Akron 52-6, but they only led 14-0 at halftime. And the same is true with Washington, both the national title runner-up last year, who played Weber State and was only up by 14 at halftime. And then Oregon beat Idaho 24-14. And then West Virginia Penn State goes and beats West Virginia at West Virginia, who wasn't a bad team last year. And Morgantown's a brutal place to play. And they dominate 34-12. I'm going to be honest, Dave. I think they could be Big Ten favorites after what I watched over the weekend.
Interesting. And then the Heisman race, you got some interesting names on here. Is this based off just week one?
It's, guys, my Heisman race and top 10 are solely based on week one and what you did. So you have to play the competition. So I got Cam Ward beating Florida because of what he did against Florida, Carson Beck because of what he did against Georgia. And yes, I got Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt because of what he did against Virginia Tech, Travis Hunter, two-way player, Colorado, and then Miller Moss with USC. And then my
if you go to our merch shop, you can actually pick up the Pavia for Heisman shirts.
It won't last, but he deserves it. And my top 10, I mean, again, I put the priority on if you played a Power 5 school or not. So, and then how you played against them, because that's all I got to go on right now. I don't judge any preseason or projections for my top 10. So, number 1's Miami. Number 2 is Penn State. Number 3 is Georgia. Number 4 is Notre Dame. Number 5 is TCU. Number 6 is USC. Number 7 is North Carolina. Number 8 is UNLV. Number 9 is Vanderbilt. And number 10 is Boston College. That will change, but that's based on right now.